We could turn this podcast into hours and hours.
Oh yeah, no, we try to stay light. We're trying to. That's why I'm moving us on from a dark place.
Like the oceans.
Right. But the point,
electrical current
being,
and water probably not very conducive.
Especially salt water.
I'm just a simple electrician, but that doesn't sound good to me. We've talked
I've been
about
doing
before,
that recently.
That's
I'm back in that fucking room.
Yep. That definitely got to get cut. That definitely got to get cut. Well, man, you comfortable? You ready?
Absolutely.
You good, my man?
I'm good. Go for it.
Welcome, everybody, once again to the Ice Shower After Work podcast for all things trades and trades related. John and I are here in the job trailer again with you. John, how are you today, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. I'm fucking tired.
You're tired.
I'm fucking tired.
I got a video going up on social media that is going to show that very thing this week.
I don't know why I'm tired. I'm just fucking tired.
Well, it's going to happen, buddy. That's part of working in the trade. Did you have a good week?
I did. We had a lot of good times. I actually got lights to turn on, so that was fantastic. 3 out of 23. Yay!
3 out of 23.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like a great percentage, buddy, but we'll get back to that later.
Just the EM lights.
Oh, that's not so bad, I guess. We're lucky once again to have yet another guest in with us today. Pretty excited about it. Somebody who's been trying to get on for a little while. We're happy he's here with us. Father, husband, grandfather, former member of the fire department, United States Marine, and in the spirit of our trades podcast, a lifelong welder. Welcome, everybody, Steve Crisp, but we all know him as Crispy.
We all call him Crispy.
Welcome to the podcast, buddy.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for having me.
I assume this is your first podcast?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, man, once we get you famous, maybe it's going to be the first of many here.
Right.
We know you because we've all known each other for quite a number of years now, but for the people that don't, give them a real quick breakdown on your family situation. I kind of gave them the highlights at the start there.
Well, family situation. I've been married 3 times.
Okay.
And between those 3 marriages, I have biologically 3 of my own, but 9 kids in total.
Holy shit. You know what causes that, right?
Yeah.
Their other husbands grading them before I got to them.
There is a few of that. So that's just the kids, and then I know there's a number of grandkids too.
Yes, we have 15 grandkids total. If I got my count right, I do believe it's 15, and they're kind of spread out all over the place.
Dude, after 10.
They're cross country. Right?
Yeah. After 10, if you can keep track of most of them, that's a pretty good percentage,
Yeah,
actually.
I'm going to be lucky after 4. Fuck, if that ever happens for me.
That's not good. And, of course, your beautiful wife, Lisa, who, shout out to Lisa, taking care of things at the bar right now for us so that Crispy could get away and record. So shout out to Lisa. We love you, darling.
And if you want the best Bloody Marys in the world.
And if you want,
oh my
if
God.
you want the best Bloody Mary
She
in the
makes
world,
a mean bloody.
You get them from Lisa. She got the recipe down.
She was a bartender for 30 years, bless her heart. And obviously I needed to marry a bartender.
Right.
It helps
no,
sometimes.
she's got the best bloody mix around.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
Very good, man. So a brief history for people. Go back to kind of the start of your career when you got working after out of high school and bouncing around. I believe you started welding then. That's right?
Absolutely, yes. I got really intrigued into welding when I was in 10th grade and getting into metal shop.
When they had metal shop still. We've talked about it before.
Yeah,
Go ahead, buddy. Go
going
ahead.
away.
Yeah.
So 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, I took metal shop in high school, and then half days from 10th grade on, I go to Votech for half a day doing the welding out there too, going to class out there.
Nice.
When I got out of school, I went back to Dakota County Vocational College. They called it Votech back then. And I started the course again out there. But the teacher really couldn't teach me nothing because I've already been doing it for so long. So
Sure.
I dropped out, and I ended up going into welding down in St. Paul, South St. Paul, right underneath the Lafayette Bridge. The barges come in, and I do all the repairs on the barges. So all the damage that happened up and down the river, whatever needed to be done, we would take care of it down there. That's kind of where I really got my feet wet. Went on to do that for just around a year, and the business folded up.
Yeah, that's hard.
It happens, right?
And being a young guy at 18, 19, no direction. Really didn't want to, I love that job. I'd still be working there today if it was there. So I decided, you know what? The best career path for me right now, join the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
So I joined the Marine Corps in 82 and did my 4-year stint. And the Marine Corps is not a place to have a married man.
Right.
Marine Corps always said, we wanted you to have a wife, we'd have issued you one.
I have heard that before.
Yeah, I've heard that before, for sure.
And I kind of got out of welding, but when I got out of the Marine Corps, I jumped right back into it, and I worked for a couple different companies doing fabrication. And then I got an opportunity to go to the refinery and work at the refinery. So that's where I kind of picked up on that, and that's when my welding days pretty much stopped for a career. But I've always welded on the side at home. People bring me projects all the time for fabrication. Doug's another one. Doug uses me quite a bit when he needs something done metal-wise.
Oh, man, my workshop table in my garage, you welded the frame for that.
Yeah.
I'll put pictures up on social this week. Yeah, no, you wouldn't. Yeah, you've been welding. I mean,
Yeah.
you've been welding your whole life, yeah.
And Doug even sent me another guy. He got a phone call out of the blue, and he says, hey, my name's Dustin. I hear you weld. And I'm like, who's Dustin? I said, yeah, I do weld, but how do you know me? He goes, well, Doug Ludke called. I called him up and said, hey, I need some guy to do some welding. Doug says, hey, I got the guy. Right. So he brought his dump trailer down, and we did a bunch of revamp work on it, and he's happy.
Good.
Well, see, that's exactly the point that we make all the time, right? Like, take your skills and use them for something,
Right.
even if it's not the career you're doing right now. Like, you might learn a trade and then change and do something else. You hit the Marine Corps,
Right.
came back and started looking at the refinery, which I want to ask you about a little more in a minute. But I mean, that skill's always there. Nobody can take that away from you.
Right.
Even if you try a trade for a few years and don't love it, don't stay in it, man,
You're still going to learn
it's
something.
still a lifelong skill. I was going to bring this up later. It just came up early now. So
Right.
when you went to the refinery, it wasn't because of your welding skills.
No. My father-in-law worked out there, and I knew the refinery people make some good money.
I've heard that.
So, everybody likes coin.
Well, we're all
So-
kind of money whores at some point.
Right,
in life,
Sure we are, yeah.
So I had the opportunity, and I put an application in, and they ended up hiring me, obviously because my father-in-law worked there. And I started out there in 89. And you go through the ranks. You come out as a utility operator.
Sure.
And I worked my way up through the ranks, through the operations department, and eventually became a board operator, which is the guy that controls the whole unit.
Right.
And that kind of evolved, and I was in the union out there forever and ever, and I was the chief union steward, too, for a couple of years.
What local was that?
Teamsters 120.
Shout out
The
Teamsters 120.
Absolutely.
Shout out Teamsters 120.
Great group of guys. I still talk to a lot of them out there. But then I had the opportunity where a training opportunity came up where I could train people on how to operate a refinery.
Right.
So I took that position, and that turned me into management.
Oh, yeah.
Got out
The
of the
dreaded
union.
management.
Then you were
Yes.
a fucking loafer monkey.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, hard, yeah.
And it's,
Steel toes for loafers. It happens. It happens.
oh, I still wore the steel toes.
Yeah, God love you.
I was out in the refinery all the time.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So I did that for almost 2 years, and then another opportunity came up. Or being in management, they don't call them opportunities. It's, here's what you're going to do.
Right.
Yeah, this
Here's
is
a
your
new
next
task.
assignment. Yeah, gotcha.
Here's the additional responsibilities that we have. for
Right.
you.
For no more money.
Right.
So then I went out to the units again and became the day foreman for a third of the operating departments out there. And at the same time, I was on the fire department, emergency response team, we called it. And that's a part-time gig. It's not a full-time job. So I worked my way up through the ranks there from engineer to captain, and finally became the fire chief.
Nice.
And I was doing the fire chief job and the day foreman job, and that turned into 70-hour weeks.
Ouch.
Yeah, at a certain point in time, I finally told management, hey, you got to pick one or the other because I ain't doing them both anymore. And they know where my heart was, so I turned into the fire chief out there full time.
Nice.
Good.
And that's Hastings Firehouse?
That's the refinery.
Oh, that's the refinery. Okay, yeah, just to be sure, yeah.
After in '93, I joined Hastings Fire Department as a paid-on-call firefighter, and put 23 years in there, and finally retired. I think it's been 4 or 5 years ago now, something like that.
Yes, we won't put anything gruesome on the podcast, but Crispy has told me some shit over the years.
Yeah, he's seen a lot of shit.
I can tell you, Crispy has told me some shit. Yeah, so I'm glad that we had people like you out there when accidents did happen. You could go out and do your best to protect people and protect property and all that. But yeah, you must have seen some things, buddy.
Oh,
So we feel for you. We really do.
we could turn this podcast into hours and hours.
Oh
of
yeah, no, yeah,
gore.
we try to stay light. We're trying to get. That's why I'm moving us on from a dark place, folks. When the path that you took through the fire department, though, even as doing it sort of part time, was that a really good learning environment? Like, were they really good to teach you from one point to the next, or were you book learning and going to courses? Like, is it more hands on or is it more learning?
The fire industry is awesome. You get so much training, and you get so much hands-on practical training. And we have a great group of people that are educators. And yes, we train, we practice every month, 2 times a month. We have training opportunities. We go up to the burn houses and do live fire burns. We tear apart cars, buses, trucks, anything. So yeah, there's a lot of hands-on training and to get your skill set. So I'm very appreciative of all the things I've learned over the years, and you keep that forever.
And there's been a lot of changes over the years of how fires are fought and different techniques and different products. I mean, foam fencing and stuff like that, and especially with the new lithium batteries and the EV vehicles and stuff. So you guys, do you think that they trained you timely on how things were progressing with new, or was there a bad lag of, hey, this product is out here, but we're not going to show you it for another year?
No, it was never a trial by fire.
No,
everything that was new coming up or getting out there, it'd go across the whole United States. All the departments would hear about it. Here's the latest and the greatest. Here's how we handle this. So yeah, it's all on the up and up. They're
Nice.
They're current on everything.
that's good.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because I mean, we've talked a few times. Like, we're having you on as a welder here,
Right.
true first and foremost, but
Right.
we definitely wanted to hear the whole story, because yes, there's some comparable things in the way you learn, which is why I asked the question originally of the things that how we learn through an apprenticeship and a trade, where it's more hands-on. You're
Right.
still getting some education, still some book time, but you're learning actual physical work and how it's done right and wrong, and learning your lessons.
Right.
So I knew there was a good comparison there. Not to mention, we say we're here for the trades, but I've been thinking more and more, like occasionally now, the extras that make our lives a little more comfortable, like knowing the fire department and the ambulance is a phone call away.
Right.
I mean, we work in an area where you can get hurt. It's nice to know that they're not in construction, but
Right.
shout out to first responders.
Right. We're not in the safest line of work.
Yeah,
No,
We're not sitting
absolutely
behind
not.
a desk, but
yeah, I'm not in the front lines of the military or anything, but in
Yeah.
our industry,
the first responders are key. Guys like
Absolutely.
you that spent your time, and you were the guys that were, when shit goes south,
We run towards it, and they all run away from it.
and with a calm head, and I know what I'm doing. And a lot of people can't say that.
no, that's a fact, right? When you retired from the fire department, did you have the intent of retiring altogether? Because I know you've done stuff since then. I know you were doing some freelance, if that's what you call it,
Right.
for refineries.
Right.
Tell us about that. So not physically in the refinery anymore, but
No.
doing procedures.
Yeah,
You lay it on
procedures,
us. Yeah, lay it on us.
operations, right?
Yeah, everything that happens in a refinery, I don't care if you're starting a pump, shutting down a unit, starting up a unit, firing up a heater, whatever it may be, there has to be a written procedure on how to do that.
Sure.
So over all the years of my training out there, it pretty much stuck in my head. And when I left the refinery, I had an opportunity. One of the guys I used to work with out there had left the refinery and worked for another company in Texas, but he was over in Saudi Arabia teaching them how to operate refineries. When he got back here, the opportunity came up for me to help him write procedures for refineries that are in North Dakota or wherever.
Okay.
So once we had the contract, they'd tell us what procedures they want written, and they'd send me all the P&IDs, piping and instrument diagrams, and all the manufacturers or whoever built this is how it operates. And then I'd have to put a step-by-step procedure together to tell them how to do it, how to start this equipment.
Right.
Emergency procedures for shutting down, anything. And that I think that lasted for about 2 years, somewhere right around there. And then that company folded up, so my buddy Buffy, he started his own company called Downstream Oil Consulting, and we kept doing it for about another year. And then we said, enough's enough. We both didn't want to work anymore.
Well, I know, and we wouldn't get into your business here on the podcast or anything, but I know that was a lucrative endeavor for you. And
Very lucrative.
Yeah, and when you were retired and could do it from basically anywhere you had a computer access.
Absolutely.
That was, I mean, how could you not do that for a year or two and just see how it goes while you made a little ching? Like, that's all right.
Yeah. Hey, man, why not take the time after we retire? Because I talk to a lot of guys that have been retired out of the industries and out of the construction. And the biggest thing is, and even guys that are like, they're looking down the barrel of retirement. They're like, hey, I'm 8 months away. I've already got all this lined up. This is what's going to keep me busy. This is what's going to keep my mind going. Because a lot of the times, like in the construction world, when we stop working, unfortunately, it's 13 months and we're in the ground talking to the maker, you know?
Right.
So I think it's important to, like
Stay
you did,
active.
stay active, do
Absolutely.
something, use your knowledge in another way. And I will say, from a field guy, you're the fucker that we have to deal with going, what the fuck? Really? All this red tape? Come on.
Yeah, can I just
You're the guy.
We don't need a 4-hour fire watch, for fuck's sakes. Like, yeah. Right. You'd definitely be that guy if we were in the field together, man. I can see that. I've known you long enough to know better. And just as a side note here, man, because again, we know you a little better than the crowd does, but we want them to get the full effect. I mean, we spend a lot of our time, especially during the summer, all three of us, and I mean, another group of friends of ours, we spend a lot of time on the Harleys, man. How long you been riding bikes? Do you even remember?
Probably about 9 years old when I started riding dirt bikes.
Nice.
But yeah, lifelong rider. I've owned 3 different Harleys now. I've owned crotch rockets. I've had it all. But obviously my love is on the Harley. You know that.
Yeah.
Listen, we're all about the riders, but yeah, we're Harley people in this room for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Harley Davidson if they want to send us something for free. We are not proud at all.
No, we are
I
not.
could use another street glide in my garage. They
Yeah.
can send us one of them.
Yeah, hosts at isawpodcast.com.
Reach on
please,
out.
We're not proud at all. That's great, man. So just to focus in a tiny little bit, we mentioned that you started Welding younger.
Yes.
And stuff that you took the time to learn in advance. So by the time you got to doing welding in school or even at VOTEC, you already had more of a knowledge than someone who might have never done anything, and that's who they're teaching to some of the colleges where you'll go to take any kind of vocation, right?
Right.
And we say VOTEC. Anybody who's younger listening, that's a trade school. All right, that's like they used to call them that. It's just a term.
It's just a trade school.
Right, yeah. So you definitely got a lifelong skill out of welding that you still used as recently as this week. We were just talking about one the other day, right?
Right.
For the people who are just thinking about getting into the trades, do you think that welding is it seems to me there's lots of varied opportunities for a welder. It's not just putting metal together. Like,
no.
Do you think that there's some value for somebody if they'd want to get into a trade that welding would be the one?
Absolutely. If you get into welding, it's a career path that you'll thoroughly enjoy, depending on where you're working at. But the skill sets that you get and gain from it all, and the money that you can actually make. I mean, let's go all the way to underwater welder. Those guys make buku bucks.
Well,
Yep.
look, I just saw a
Yep.
thing on the internet the other day, which we've admitted is kind of bullshit sometimes, the internet. I mean, those guys are making like $2,500 an hour
Right.
underwater welding. Like, what? Like,
Yeah.
you can use a scuba suit and you know how to weld good? That seems like a good skill set, right?
And the reason
You
they
won't
get paid
find me
that
doing
kind of money is because it is so hazardous.
Right.
Yeah. He ain't find me doing it. Fuck that shit. Like the ocean's. Uh-uh.
But the point, yeah, but the
Electrical
point
current
being,
and water probably
right.
doesn't not very conducive.
especially saltwater.
I'm just a simple electrician, but that doesn't sound good to me. Yeah, so that shows you that there's such a big swing, I think, between, just stick welding, putting in pipe, just even as a plumber,
Right.
all the way up to something like that. It's another point that we can make where the career you think is just this one small little thing can be so many things. Just like with Pete the other day, the
Right.
audio visual and the low voltage side can be such a wide variety of things.
Right.
Try to open your mind to what the trade really is as a whole. Don't just think, oh, you're a framer, you're building houses, you're building walls. There's things, bricklayer, steel. Look into your trade that you're interested in. There's way more that you could do that you think there is. Anyways,
Yeah, there's so many.
Multifaceted.
right. We're
So
really
many
passionate about
specialties.
getting new people in. So sorry, John, go ahead, buddy.
Well, and all right, so I've learned a lot in the past few weeks working on my job site and working side by side with a welder
Right?
and a pipe fitter and a crew of pipe fitters. Fucking babies.
They think the same thing about us.
The fucking welders. I'm like, the welder is different from the pipe fitters, right? Like the pipe fitters are putting shit. The welder, god damn.
While John and I take a quick coffee break during this episode, we'd like to take a minute to shout out this week's sponsor, Dave, at howtopodcast.ca. From the Buy Us a Beer app on our website, isawpodcast.com, John and I would like to personally thank you for sponsoring this week's episode and helping the podcast to grow. From all of us at the I Shower After Work podcast, thank you, Dave.
The golden arm of the welder, right? I weld. I don't do anything else. And I'm busting chops of Pete that's on the job site right now. Hopefully he listens. He's a good dude. He's a great welder. But, and I only say that because he was telling me the story about, and this goes back to what you were saying about the different things that you can do as a welder and different branches and different options and opportunities that you have. He has a 3-ring binder, a 3-inch 3-ring binder that is full of his certificates
Oh, sure.
for
yeah.
his welding
Yeah.
certs.
Definitely, yeah.
There's a bunch of them in there.
And he said flat out, he's like, I have so many that I don't even know what they are anymore. Like he's forgot them all. He's like, if it's there, I've probably got it. And he's a young kid. Like, well, he's not a kid. He's a young guy. He's younger than I am. He's certainly younger than all of us in this room. But
Felt you a little bit, but keep going.
yeah, fuck off a little bit. Just the tip.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Nothing but the tip.
But it's so interesting when it comes to welding. I tried welding when I was in high school. We had egg shop. Right. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I never saw myself going down that path because I enjoyed shop class, wood shop way more.
Right.
Right. But knowing what I know now, I could take some time. I know my way around an arc welder. I know my way around a wire feed. I know my way around a settling torch. I could put something together. It'll take me a fucking century, but I could generally put something together. Nothing like you can. I've seen some of your work and it's absolutely amazing. And the skill that you've developed and kind of catered to, it's pretty cool. And it all goes back to if you want it bad enough,
Go after it.
get it.
Go get it.
Because there's nothing stopping you in the trades, no matter what trade you're in.
Right.
There's nothing stopping you. If you just want it, you can have it.
It's
You
basically
just gotta go for it.
yourself. How much drive do you have? Where do you want to take it?
Right.
And honestly, if you're going to get into the trades, any trade, absorb and learn everything possible.
Right.
Because it's only going to help you out down the road.
Right. And on top of that, don't just stop at your trade. Learn what the other trades are doing.
Oh, absolutely. Like you were saying, the pampered welders.
Yeah.
Honest to God, it's the truth because pipe fitters, and no disrespect, a lot of those pipe fitters have one guy beside them prepping everything for them, making sure everything's perfect for them.
Yeah.
And then the welder comes in and just burns the bead.
Yep.
No, you need to do it all.
Right. Right.
I see the benefit for someone learning how to be like a real professional welder of being the guy or gal who gets everything prepped and ready to go. Because
That's where they start.
Then when you're working on your own, you know how to prep it properly to do your own thing.
Yeah,
Right.
you have to, right?
Yeah. So that's, I like that. That's a good thing to know.
Hearing the stories from what this guy's telling me about welders because he was pipeline work in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And doing live gas pipe welding. You know, they crank up the pressure to 15 pounds of pressure on the gas line, and it's fine. But it's synchronized and
Doesn't sound fine.
it's fucking crazy shit, right?
Basically a hot tap.
Yeah.
Well, you know all the terminology, my friend. Yeah.
If you're welding on a live line, I don't care what's in there. It all has to be monitored. Thicknesses and everything got to be taken care of before you even burn a bead on the pipe.
Right.
And that's probably one of the most hazardous things that a pipe fitter has to deal with is a live line welding on it.
Right. Because from what I understand, you're welding through fire. That shit's on fire coming through your weld.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, like, it's burning as you're welding.
Yeah, it's molten metal going on pipe.
Right.
I definitely found a couple of good videos exactly what the two of you are talking about. I'll make sure I get one up this week.
Yeah.
I have a reaction one I can do because what the guys do, I'm like, holy buck, like, yeah. So
Right. It's absolutely insane. And then, I mean, you touched on it a little bit, the underwater welding for these, ocean oil rigs.
Yep.
The pipelines, because that's what people don't realize is, that oil rig is sitting out in the ocean, but that oil's getting to shore.
Oh, absolutely.
And all of that line is all welded.
Yep.
Like there's not anything but welds. So, and we tend to overlook welders a lot. Because anymore, a lot of these buildings, there's not a lot of welding going on. There is some welding, but not a ton because like most of it's bolt and go.
Prefabbed.
Right. Like you're just sticking it together, running some bolts in, and then the welders will come back and like weld plates together. But they're just welding plates on walls or elevator shafts, putting some beams in. Nothing huge, but you don't realize that, when you're in an elevator with 20 other fucking people, there is a steel bar that's welded in place above you that's holding you all together.
Yep.
Like, think about that. There's a steel beam that's welded.
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to be educated and confident and know you do a good job in this trade with a lot of the stuff because it will be structural, life safety, load bear. It's not just making fire and putting metal together, kids. Like it's a good, interesting trade where you can advance. There's lots of opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you do any welding out in the refinery? Did we touch on that?
No, they actually wanted me to do welding out there, and I said, no, I kind of want to take a break from that at this point in time, and I just stayed in operations, but there was opportunity for me. They wanted me to go do the weld coupons and see if I could pass their tests, and I know I could have passed them with no problem.
You just, no.
And I said, no, I'm going to take a break from welding. And my career path took me down the road that I ended up on.
Right.
Cool.
Which that's not
But
the
welding
end of
has
the world.
always been there for me, and it always will be.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're talking about lifelong skills you can learn. Right. Yeah, you can switch to something else. Like if all of a sudden this podcast thing takes off, I might take a break from electrical. Who knows? Right?
Yeah, I mean,
But
that's the hope.
But I'll always right. That's the hope. But I'll always be an electrician. I'll always have those skills. So it's kind of what I want to point out to people who are like, what if I get it and I don't like it? Then make a change. And even if you do like it and get a better opportunity, take it.
Yeah, there's nothing saying you got to stay in it, right? Like,
Shift it over a little bit. Maybe you're an electrician, but you want to go to something different that's still in electrical.
Right.
and I did that. I did my short stint I was in wholesale. I went to electrical wholesale.
Right.
And I went into PLC controls and soft starts, working for coal mines and stuff. I took my break. Yeah, I fucking ended up putting the goddamn tool belt back on.
It's in the long run, right? Like,
It's in the blood, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much it's what I know.
yeah. A lot of people don't get used to working for a living. You start to enjoy it. Miss it when you don't have it every day.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It does tend to drive you a little batshit crazy when you're not doing it.
Hey, listen, if they'd pay me the same amount of money to sit in an office somewhere, I'd think about it. Maybe.
Maybe.
We see what happens.
I'd think about it. That's probably about as far as it'd go.
No, that's probably a good idea.
and you just hit the key word, too. You have to love what you're doing.
You have to.
You get up in the morning, you have to look forward to going on the job and getting into the trade that you're in. That's where it's at.
Yeah. You summed it up perfectly, actually. I mean, don't get me wrong. Is there days you're going to wake up, listen to that alarm clock, and go, fuck it? Sure there are. But that doesn't mean you can't love your job. You can hate days, just don't hate your job.
Right.
Or you can hate what you've been working on and you wake up that next morning saying, oh, Christ, I still got that to do.
Yeah, we've talked
I've
about
been
it
doing
before,
that
yeah.
recently.
Yeah, that's...
I'm back in that fucking room.
Yes, man. We were talking earlier, saying you're still in the weeds a bit on your remodel downstairs, eh?
Fuck. Yeah, I quit.
Wow.
No, I
know that
don't,
you
but
quit,
it's-
but you got a lot ahead of you, and I'm sure it's daunting.
We all know a guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, we all know a guy, but that's I mean, we're all at that point. I was saying that room as in the fucking at work, the
Oh,
boiler
sure.
room.
Okay.
I know every square inch of. I can draw that boiler room right now with my fucking eyes closed.
You know,
Yeah, and any apprentices listening, this is going to happen to you eventually, where you find a job in a tiny little room that somehow leaves you in that little tiny room for weeks, sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, like brace yourself. It sucks.
I think it's coming up on a month, and I think I put like 800 feet of pipe in that fucking room.
Tripping over everybody else, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's-
pipe fitters, the gas guys.
and you know how you're talking about the trades, because that's what this whole podcast is about, trades. I've dabbled into everything, and you, Jason, you know I've remodeled my completely whole house.
Yes, definitely.
There are certain things that I didn't know how to do, and I've heard this on the podcast earlier. Yeah, you got YouTube now. Okay? That's a great asset too, but there are certain things that are always going to be a little above your pay grade,
Right.
and you need to call a guy. And you had Mr. Ludke on this show. I've hired him to come down and do work in my house that, not that I didn't want to do it, I knew he could do it 10 times better than me.
I could
That's
say
it.
the exact same thing. Actually, he's done that for me too.
Yep.
Yeah, I could manage to get it done, but it wouldn't be as good. Like, just call me.
And that's
Just call the guy, will ya?
Well, we talked about it
We've-
in the episode on hacks. That
Yeah.
it's
And our home remodeling.
And our home remodel, yeah. It's
like-
the difference between knowing that point that you just brought up.
Right.
We've said it before. You either got to realize, okay, above my pay grade, as you said, or I'm going to tackle it and see what happens. And we've talked ad nauseum about the difference between the two.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. That's the breaking point. But most people don't know that. They
Yeah.
think that their line is a $5,000 project further than it should have been, right? Like,
Oh God, yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And we tend to all do that at some point,
Oh, yeah, sure.
right? I'm doing that right now. Like my bathroom remodel was supposed to be a bathroom remodel, and now it's 3/4 of a basement remodel because I keep fixing shit and go. And I know where my line is. Like I know for a fact I ain't doing the sheetrock tape texture on my basement. I ain't doing it.
Pay somebody.
Yeah, I'm paying somebody. I can't do it. I've learned that from previous experiences working on my other houses. Be like, yeah, I suck at that actually.
Right.
And you know where all the mistakes are.
Yeah,
And that's a trade that you have to have finesse.
it's an art form.
It is definitely true art. And
Those-
I've done the same thing. I've sheetrocked most of my house and had somebody come in and tape and mud. And they look around and who the hell hung all this rock?
Right.
That was my buddy.
Yeah. I was cutting him a break. He was on hard times. Like,
Yeah,
whatever
he
sob
needed a-
story you got to tell
He needed a
yourself, sure.
hand. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
But,
Yeah, I've been meaning to fix it up, but I didn't want to make him feel bad.
but those guys know how to cover it up and make it look perfect. when
Yeah, they
it's
really
done.
do. Yeah, we bag on sheetrockers a lot, but that's a trade on its own because it's a skill on its own.
Right.
Right. Yeah. All right, that's the nicest thing I'm ever saying about you, sheetrockers. Go fuck yourselves.
Just a little bit.
Back to my original point. Well, I'm glad to hear that you'd be proponent to somebody. So, I mean, if you're talking to one of your grandchildren in a few years when they hit that teenage, I mean, this is something you would promote as getting into the trade, specifically welding in your case.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, as a matter of fact, my daughter, about a month ago, asked me, I want to learn how to weld. She's into all the artsy, craftsy stuff. So I said, well, come on over. So she's been over to my garage 2 times now. And inside of 4 hours, she's already burning a pretty damn nice bead with a MIG welder.
Yes.
And MIG welding, I could teach my grandchildren. But it's welding is a trade that you're always going to grow with. You know, like any trade. The more you stick to it and the more you absorb and put your effort into it, you're just going to get better and better.
Right.
So,
And it sounds like if you say that she's into like the artsy stuff, she's looking for more of a welding to learn how to do like sculpture work. And-
absolutely. I think this is where it's all heading. I went out and bought her a welding hood, and she's all about crafts. So I said, take that home. I want to see it painted before you come back.
Yeah, paint it up, make it yours.
Seen a picture of it online. It's all pink. But she's not done with it, so I know there's more coming.
Right. No Barbie stickers or nothing like that. No.
Hard to say with her.
There's a strong possibility.
Right. But, that might be her next gig.
Yeah, I mean,
Putting projects together and going to craft sales. Who knows?
right. Why
I
not?
mean, that's the, we talk about welding as a trade in the industry,
Right.
but you can do it at home. You can build things, artsy craft stuff that out of metal, and go to the craft shows, and you can make some pretty good coin doing that.
Right. And 9 times out of 10, the stuff that's made, a sculpture that's welded together that's in a craft show, it's just scrap material that you can go pick up for dirt
Right.
cheap,
Right.
and just spend time enjoying your life. And
Absolutely.
I mean, I'd be sitting out there trying to put something together. I'd be drinking too much and it'd look fucking horrible, but good for her. Like you just might see one of her sculptures downtown Minneapolis. on
You
the corner
could.
sometime,
You could. And like you say, drinking on the job. That's the part I love best about it now, being retired. I can
You can have a
fabricate anything for anybody and drink while I'm at work.
right? Having a cocktail while you do it.
There is something to be said for, we don't want to be doing our jobs day to day, half cut, but when you're retired, why not? Get after it.
Nobody's going to fire you.
We've all thought about it during the day at one point or another, like, man, this would be better with half a glass of whiskey.
We are not promoting drinking on the job, people.
Absolutely, we are not.
We've
We're not
staunch
going
about
to
it
do
before,
that.
but we're also real big supporters of it after the fact.
Right. Do not do that.
Have I missed anything that you thought I should bring up today, buddy?
I don't know. I mean, Crispy, we could sit here and just shoot the shit forever
We
and
could shoot the
hours
shit
and
for
hours. And we
hours.
have in the past.
I'm legitimately trying intentionally not to dig in too deep and save some stuff for a second Crispy episode, actually. Instead of letting it spin up and getting it all on one that we had to split. That's actually my plan here. I was kind of like, I could think of a bunch of other things I want to bring up, but let's save for next time.
Yeah,
That's the kind of stuff that, you should have told me.
It dawned on me as we recorded.
in advance, I was pretty much told from you folks, hey, we want to get you on here to talk about welding.
Right.
Welding has always been a big part of my life, but hey, maybe another podcast, another trade is a firefighter.
Right.
We can talk hours and go really in depth on training and everything else on that aspect, but we're kind of focused with the welder today.
Oh, yeah,
we're
just
your trade show.
Exactly. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, you're right on top of it.
But when you say the word trade, right? That term trade encompasses a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
And we haven't dialed this thing into just construction trades.
Yeah, we're trying to be open-minded, right?
Right. So even that skill set as being a first responder, that's a trade.
Oh,
sure,
absolutely.
Oh, yeah, firefighter. Sure, that's a trade.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, definitely.
Like, and I think a lot of people tend to get a little bit closed-minded when they hear the word trade. They're like, oh, you automatically think construction trade. Open your mind a little bit.
Well, Mommy and Daddy told me to go to college.
Man, we have brought it up.
College is not just your only avenue.
Right.
We have brought it up
So many times.
Yeah.
And it's a valid point.
Right.
Like that's why we brought it up so many times. It's a valid situation that we're in. I'm in it with my kids. Like they're at that point, and I'm like, well, hey, if you don't have to, don't.
Right. Yeah.
Don't waste the money.
Hey, you don't want to go in a bunch of debt? Good
Right.
idea.
Yeah, thank
absolutely.
fucking God, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks for that.
And, that's what parents should be doing, is not pushing their kid one direction or another. Show them what the opportunities are.
Right.
Maybe you like working with your hands. Well, obviously, you might want to hold a pen for the rest of your life and be an executive.
Right.
Or
I want to be in a position like mine where I held a pen for years, and when I finally put down the pen and picked up a hammer, I was way happier and, in the long run, a lot more successful.
Right.
and you can see the finished product of whatever you're working on. Once you start it from scratch and it's complete, you can step back and look at it. Hey, thumbs up. That was great. That was fun.
Yeah, we talk about it quite a bit. I did that.
Yep.
I was there. I was in that build. That happened because of me. I was part of that. Like, yeah, that's a good... Yeah, we talk about it all the time. That's a good feeling for kids and young people to have. So,
Right.
Chris, we buddy, we can't thank you enough for coming on. Taking the time.
I appreciate you guys bringing me in.
Shout
I
out
really
once.
do.
Shout out once more to Lisa for
Yes,
man in the fort.
That
Chris could be
beautiful
here with
wife
us
of mine,
today,
and don't think we own a bar. Neither one of us do.
No, if you owned a bar, we would have shouted out your bar and got you a bunch of business.
We'd do podcasts down there, maybe.
Right. We were just talking about that the other day, actually, briefly. Yeah. So,
we've thought about that.
yeah, we're considering maybe down the road here just a little idea of having a live recording somewhere local for anybody who wants to come out. We'll all have a beer and have a laugh. So I'm sure it'll be loud and a nightmare for John to edit, but that's not my problem. I'm just the idea guy here, folks. So what are you gonna do?
No, my wife is fabulous. You know that.
She's one of
You
the
guys
best,
know
man.
that.
Yeah,
She's a
one of the
sweetheart.
best. Yeah,
She's solid.
yeah, for sure.
She's a good woman.
Crispy, we end every episode the same way. We give out the motto of our podcast. One last time, thanks for being here. We really hope you'll come back again. I know John and I were excited about this.
Oh yeah, no, we've been waiting on this one for a
Oh,
long
that's
time.
good.
We kind of held you off a little bit so that that we have something that sounded somewhat decent.
Yeah. We wanted
Before
to be,
having you
we
on,
wanted to be
yeah.
semi-professional before
Yeah.
we had John. We didn't want to fuck it up or something.
Right.
Well, and like I told you, I only listened to the one podcast, and I meant to bring up some Velcro.
Shout out to Doug.
But instead I had my keys here, and I was going to pick them up every now and then. Just drop them around.
I kind of wish you had him, actually. It might have stressed John and I out of time a little bit if you'd been nervously, intentionally doing that. That's fucking great, buddy.
Oh, that would have been great.
No, but I know your motto.
And our motto is, that's the way we try to end these episodes now.
Sure.
Please, man. What's the motto of the I Shower After Work podcast?
Your work keeps the world working.
That's damn right. Thank you, everybody, for
Attaboy.
listening. Be safe out there, and sláinte.
Sláinte.
Absolutely.